All right. Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Hello, Janice. How are you doing? Beautiful warm day there. Oh, we're having a beautiful warm day as well. It's a beautiful, nice day. We have had a few days of rain. I kind of enjoy the rain, and we haven't had enough this winter. So this weekend was rainy, and now we're back to the beautiful sunshine. Beautiful, gorgeous day, really perfect day. It's about, I don't know, 70 degrees, 72 degrees, just perfect. So today's live stream, we are going to do string pull techniques. So I think I'm going to have to split this into two because there's just so much you can do with a string pull technique. So I gathered up a few you can use. So you can use chains as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into two parts. So we're going to use fluid acrylic paint that we already have all mixed up, and we're going to do some abstracts, some string pulled flowers, some string pulled feathers. So I've even pulled out a piece of ribbon. Then we have just regular old, like the cheapo cotton yarn. That's honestly kind of my favorite go-to, is just the cheapo regular old yarn. We're already getting it in the paint here. Let me get it out of this paint. Okay, and then we also got some thread. This is pearl cotton. It's a little bit thicker than embroidery floss, so it kind of has almost like it's got the edges where you kind of create, and this is for a real small, maybe delicate pour. You can use any sort of string. You can use any sort of yarn, string, chain, thread, ribbon. I mean, you can use all kinds of sort of things. So I'm going to explain and show out all kinds of stuff. So we're going to do some feathers, some flowers, some string pulls on dried canvases. I'm going to show you what I do for that. So just all kinds. Oh, did you have some rain too? Are you having some nice, now you said a beautiful warm day. So that's awesome. Hope your weekend was well. So happy to see you joining us again today. So this is going to have to be split into a two-parter because I have so many. So today we're going to mainly go over the strings and the ribbon. Next week, we're going to kind of do more of a chain pulls with ball chain and some necklace chain, and also like some more string pulls that are a little bit more advanced. Say today we're going to kind of start at the very, very beginner and go a little bit more advanced of the string pull technique by next week, next Wednesday. So, all right, we have an 8 by 10 inch canvas. I'm going to go ahead and kind of set these aside. This one we are going to do with the yarn. Now, for an 8 by 10 inch canvas, we only need probably about, at the most, 10 inches of yarn. So I'm going to just cut off a little. I always cut a little extra. You want a little extra to hold on to. So we're going to cut off a little bit there. To this one, we're going to go ahead and start with a feather. And then we're going to work on some other ones. But I am going to go ahead and put down... this is apple barrels. I already have my paint all mixed up. In the description, I have a link to my video of my mixing of my paint. But this is Apple Barrels Cloudless. And it's a nice, real light blue. I think it's kind of what they replaced their China blue with, because they discontinued their China blue. I actually have some mixed up. So here's the China blue. It's a little bit more bluer. This is a little bit more robin's egg, a little bit of green to it, but it's called Cloudless. So I've mixed it up 1 part paint to about 3 parts water. 3 parts Floetrol, no water. And that's going to be our background color. We're just going to put that down for our background, that nice cloudless blue. And we're going to do a couple of these where we're going to do some just plain backgrounds on white, on black. And then I'm also going to dirty pour a couple backgrounds, maybe even flip cup a background, and so show you, you can kind of combine some techniques as well. And then any questions, anybody has any questions, please go ahead and ask any questions. If I don't see it right away, sometimes I'm paying attention to the painting, but I'll try to always look up and see your question. I try to pay attention to my chat as much as possible. And if for those of you, if you're playing this on the replay, I do always leave up my live streams. So some of you may catch this on the replay, and you can also read along in the chat and read what we have. You just open up the chat and read the live chat as it was live chatted when it went live, if you're watching the replay. And if you're watching it live now, well, thank you so much for joining me. I am live every Wednesday at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So, all right, I just go ahead and spread that around with a palette knife. Now, I do have quite a bit of air bubbles, and that I could have kind of have less air bubbles if I would have mixed this paint maybe yesterday, which is great. You want to mix your paint the day before. I was running out of time. I mixed my paint just before the live stream, so I have a little bit more air bubbles. No big deal. Just went ahead and clean that up a little bit, those air bubbles. So, all right, I think I'm going to use some color shift on here. I have mixed up some color shift paints and some metallic paints. I think that would look super pretty. Feather done with these. So what we have today is the color shift plum flash. And these are mixed up still, 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol. I didn't put any water. It's about the right consistency with no water in it for the feather pull. You want just the regular old consistency you want for like 90% of your paint pours. A little bit thicker than crepe batter. So we have, to start with, we have the plum flash. We have the blue flash. So these are all color shift. So these are beautiful. They have a color shift blue violet flash. So those are the 3 color shift paints we're going to use today. And then I do also have this beautiful, it's just a metallic, but it's the folk art metallic rose. I thought I would add in there. So what I like to do is I like to have, so these are just plastic sheets. Let me show you. So just a plastic sheet. I'm going to put the paint down on here. Then I'm going to dip the the yarn that I'm going to make the feather with, I'm going to dip right on here. So let me show you that process. So what I like to do is I like to and I'm just trying to put it on this plastic sheet so we can then move it away and do other pours and other colors. You can put it on your paint surface, whatever. So I like to put on these sheets because it also makes a skin later to peel off to do other little projects with. So I'm just putting a little bit of paint down, various colors of these color shift. And then I'm going to dip the yarn into that. So these color shift paints are just gorgeous. But honestly, when you do a paint pour with them, I have a problem with them getting kind of lost in my they just don't do it justice because they're so spendy. You want to really see the beautiful, variations of the color. So I like to do string pulls with them, like blown, like blooms with them. I try to save my color shifts because if you do like a flip cup or something like that, honestly, I've had a lot of trouble with them. They just get lost. So here I am. You can take your palette knife and you can just kind of press it down in. You're just trying to get it all covered up. And this one, we're going to do a feather. So the color shift are kind of translucent. And that's why you kind of lose some of the color in them if you do it like in a flip cup. So it's kind of nice to do them with this technique because you can see them a little bit better. So what we're going to do is we're going to just lay this down here now on the surface. All right, now It's kind of hard to do with gloves, honestly. I might have to take these. You know, I am going to take the glove off for today. So I've got a little thread of fiber from the yarn. Yeah, the color shift paints are so spendy. I definitely want to, use them wisely. So I do not have any silicone in it. I am going to grab it right here very carefully, and I'm not lifting it too far up off. Just going to kind of pull, slide this across the surface real gently, not lifting too far up off. See, they're so translucent, you barely even see them here. So what I'm going to do is I grab and I kind of squeegee it clean. So you can just kind of see barely them across the top, but they're going to dry beautifully and then create this beautiful shimmer across the top. So they're probably not the greatest example for a feather. Next, we'll do a little bit darker feather so you'll be able to see it a little bit better. But what I did is I just put the paint down and the lines kind of. I'm dipping it back in the same one. I kind of squeegeed off a little bit of the extra. You can do it with silicone if you like that look. We will do one later with silicone, but right now we don't need any silicone. Trying to kind of lay it down in a similar. Okay, so now this one, we're going to go this way. So not lifting too far up, going nice and slow. I haven't done one of these in so long. That side was a little bit prettier. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and squeegee that right off. I'm sorry if it bothers you guys with no gloves. It's really hard to do this technique with the gloves on. Hey, Dee Dee, how are you doing? How have you been? It's been a little while. So what we're doing is we have color shift paint, so it's kind of really hard to see. On camera, it doesn't show the shimmery beautiful. They're kind of translucent, but they dry to shimmery beautiful on the top there. So now I have my yarn, my string or my yarn. I'm just going to dip it in some of this extra. Kind of just dip the end. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create kind of the center of the feather. So I'm just going to pull this down through. All right. So it kind of creates, so the feather is kind of upside down in a way. So now if you wanted it to be more like a peacock feather, you could have positioned it a little bit further down and you can kind of create like the eye of the peacock feather. So that is just a real basic string pull feather with the color shift paint. And so it creates a real pale, beautiful look. Oh, going through a lot. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's terrible. So yeah, I know you've dealt with a lot health-wise. So oh, well, thank you so much for stopping by and showing some love. Well, thank you. So, all right, I'm going to move this one aside. This was an 8 by 10 inch canvas. Now I want to do a string pull, more of a just smaller, delicate, with the thread, kind of some flowers to show you that. So we're going to do just real light little thread. So this is a 6 by 6 inch gallery wrapped canvas, little smaller canvas. So we don't need too much of this thread. I always do about, so like a 6 inch canvas, I would do like an 8 inch thread. I mean, you need no more than a couple inches bigger than your canvas. And you can do others. So this week we're going to do just mainly feathers and flowers, different techniques, showing you those. Next week, I'm going to show you the chain pull, like more pulling, like more like butterflies and spirals and kind of spinning out while you pull. So we're going to try some whole different stuff next week. So, oh, hello, Felicia. Welcome. Yeah, at times you gotta just take those gloves off. They get in the way. So we're just gonna do white on the background on this one. We're gonna do some just real small little whole bunch of kind of abstract flowers. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the palette knife. And this technique, you don't, so like some of the other techniques are so much messier to where you maybe want to have gloves. This one, you maybe not so messy. So the gloves aren't as needed, I guess. We'll just say that. That'll be our excuse today. So, all right. Now we have a whole variety. I was thinking about doing some still with this, but I'm going to go ahead and add in some pinks and color on top of that, so it's not quite so translucent. So we're kind of using the color shift, but we're taking the same colors and just I added a little turquoise in there too, just to kind of jazz up those color shifts so they're not quite so translucent, so we can kind of pick them up when we do these flowers. I'm just taking some of the similar same color tones that they're in, just to give them some opacity, because they're so translucent they're not going to show up so much. So I'm showing how you can take the color shift and then just add some more on there to create. So we might actually need a little bit longer. So okay, we're going to use two different lengths to do flowers. We have about an 8-inch thread. We're also going to get a little bit longer too, because I'm going to do one kind of big center one, and then one a little bit on each side smaller, because you want a little bit to hold on to as well. So I got not that much bigger, but now we have 2 strings. Oh, all right. You like that color palette? Awesome. So yeah, this is probably one of my favorites too. So the only one that does have silicone is the plum. That is, otherwise these are all the same mixed up. That one has silicone. Just making sure the thread is getting all dipped in there. Okay, so now we're going to do more like abstract kind of flower. And this is just a small string for a small canvas. You just lay it back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so now when you pull this, you don't really want to lift way up. You want to pull pretty much parallel to the canvas. And you can do this with silicone, without silicone. Gonna squeegee again, kind of the excess off. And we're gonna dip and go back in to give it a few more. Kind of give it more petals. Once your string is, so that first time your string is dry, you kind of gotta, once your string is wet, you've dipped it a couple of times, it kind of just sinks in there a little bit. So we can tell we have some silicone action going on. Gonna go ahead and just dip right about there. And you just kind of back and forth, back and forth. Then we're just gonna pull straight back. So definitely you might want to do this look without the silicone. I'm not sure. I think it was that plum that had the silicone. It might be the turquoise. So we're kind of getting some wonkiness, but kind of creates fun abstract. It looks more like coral to me than it looks flower when it gets the silicone. And you can go as many times as you want. I'm just kind of squeezing the excess off, dipping it back in. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple of colors without silicone now and just kind of show you that as well. We'll do a comparison there with silicone, without silicone. So you see how it's really just moving around, making a mind of its own, because it has all that silicone in there. All right, so I think we'll leave that one alone. We'll go ahead and grab another, and we're going to do a comparison with no silicone. Okay, so to do that, we're going to have to grab, so we're going to mix up just a tiny bit of paint, and I'll show you. I'm not sure which of see, that's the problem of putting silicone in your bottles. If you label it, then you know, okay, that color has silicone. If you don't label it, then you're like, oh, I'm not real sure if that has silicone or not. So I was unsure when I grabbed that plum color if it had silicone or not, and it must have. So certain techniques, you don't want silicone. So it's always easier to add silicone into a small cup. So that is Apple Barrel's Bright Magenta. And then we're going to grab Apple Barrel's Velvet Crush. So we'll just grab 3 colors, mix just a little bit of paint up real quick, and we'll do one with no silicone. And let's grab a little bit of Apple Barrel's Laguna. Awesome. So this technique is a great one for beginners. It's a fun, simple, pretty beginner technique, but then it can go all the way up into more advanced technique. So I've got my silicone, I mean, not my silicone, my Floetrol. It's hard to get it, it's so big. Get it into I've got a gallon of it. So I'm just going to put a tad because I don't have that much paint in there. You don't need too much paint for this as well. That's a great technique for, you really just need a tad bit of each color, besides whatever base coat. So not all techniques do you need a base coat down. For a string pull, you do need a base coat. So you need a base coat down because you need some sort of fluid, paint down to be able to glide that string across. So we just did 1 part paint to about 3, maybe about 4, 3.5 parts Floetrol. And you get your Floetrol just at like Home Depot, Lowe's, any home improvement store. So those other ones created those round because it had silicone. These new colors just mixed up are not going to have silicone. So you get to see the difference there. Yeah, these are great color combinations, especially these nice bright colors for this technique with flowers. Let me grab another popsicle stick. Sorry about my reach. And they mix up so easy, mix up real nice and easy. Now we are going to get some air bubbles because they are mixed up. Ideally, you would want to mix them earlier in the day or even the night before. And it always depends on your temperature at your house, your humidity. There's so many variables. So, all right, those are pretty well mixed. Those are quickly mixed just to show you real quick. We're going to do another, just the same 6 by 6 inch canvas, white. Just a regular little plastic palette knife. Get this down. You want to make sure, because these have deep sides, you want to make sure you get the sides as well at this time. Make sure you get it kind of over the sides to get all the sides. Okay, I always shake off the little excess. And then just give it just to kind of quickly pop the bubbles. A lot of bubbles. Okay. That was all right, so now we're going to show exactly the same. We have our string, our second string already cut. We're going to put, yeah, you guys can see. So we got a little bit of the Velvet Crush. So this will be kind of an example of the difference of with silicone and without the silicone. I prefer a string pull flower feather without the silicone. So it just depends on if you're doing, like I've done seahorses and I wanted a little bit of silicone in there. So it just depends. And I like to vary up the color. You could do exactly, you know, turquoise, purple, pink, turquoise, purple, pink, turquoise. But I honestly like to kind of switch it up a little. So you may notice, I don't know if that's might drive somebody crazy that I didn't go exact order, but I like to kind of vary up the colors a little bit. So I've got that other string. I'm going to go ahead and just dip it in. It is a dry string, so you kind of got to help it along. But once it's wet, it'll do its thing next time. So, all right, now I'm going to show without the silicone, which I actually prefer. So now you just go back and forth, back and forth. And this is for this style. What's fun about the string pull technique is you can actually do it with many different, you don't have to go back and forth. I've done it. Next week, I'll show you some different kind of shapes. And you can create kind of more of leaves as well. You can do some green to create some leaves with this shape. So, okay, that's without the silicone. Dipping it in again. Doesn't really need help. It sinks right into that paint because it's already wet. But you're just going to pull straight vertical with the canvas, maybe slightly lifted from the canvas. And then next, I would like to show you a couple, we'll do a couple more flowers here on this one, but I would like to show you a feather done in all metallics. That's really pretty. So next we'll string pull a feather using all metallics. So each time I'm kind of, I call it squeezing it off, but I'm squeezing off some of the excess, but I'm creating beautiful drops to do some stuff with. I'll show you in just a moment something. Here, let me show you why my hands are clean. So one of these Dollar Tree little boxes, cheapo dollar boxes, I took a bunch of my drips and I kind of patchworked them in. They haven't been sealed or anything, but I thought that was kind of fun. And look at those drips, how bright those drips turned out. But that's one way you can use up your drips kind of a little differently, as I just kind of patchworked them in. But all right. Oh, the string. I was looking for the string. I had already did. It's right here. It was almost camouflaged in there. All right. So these paints, you can see the air bubbles because I had just mixed them up. You definitely would want to mix them ahead of time. All right, so we're just going to do one here on this side, and then we're going to go ahead and get to a feather pulled, a metallic feather pull. So, all right. Let's do a feather pull like we did the first one. I think we'll go ahead and do another 8 by 10 inch canvas. So this next week, we will do a chain pull and we'll do a butterfly and a couple other ones. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and you can use this more a little bit later, or I'll use that up to do something. But I'm going to set that aside for now. And so now we're going to do I think a black background, and I've got some gold, I've got some rose gold, some silver on the black background, and that'll really pop, and I'll show you that. Let me just wipe my palette knife. You want to make sure your palette knife is nice and clean. So how is everyone doing? How is your week going? This week is flying by for me. Last week was kind of a little bit slow, and then this week's flying by. It's so crazy how that, why can't it just balance out and be all, 1 week fly by, 1 week go slow? It's kind of weird how that roller coaster is like that. Okay, so this black is super thick, but that's okay. This is all leftover paint from a couple of projects I've been working on. That's why they're not in my normal bottles and they're in cups. But please let me know if you have any questions. Who else has done a string pull? What do you guys think of this technique? It's a good beginner one. I like to layer my string pulls. I'm going to show how you would do that here in just a moment. You can paint on a dried canvas. I'm going to show you. By Floetrol dries clear. So because Floetrol dries clear, you can paint on a canvas with using Floetrol as your base. So I'll show that in just a moment. So I'm going to use yarn again. I'm going to go ahead and get 10, 12 inches, probably about 12 inches of yarn, 12, 13 inches, I don't know. So just cheapo, just yarn. We're going to put, so we got black down, we're going to use some nice gold, some silver. Now this one I am going to go kind of more in actual order. And some, it doesn't want to, let me poke the, sometimes it doesn't want to work for us. Okay, yes, rose gold has not been used in a while, it looks like. So we'll just, we took the lid off, we'll just go ahead and see if we can get a little bit here. All right, so there is some metallics, and that'll really pop on that black. No silicone, I believe. I'm hoping no silicone, but that last one kind of surprised me. Not that very last one, but the time before. That's why you don't want to add silicone to your bottles unless you mark it and you know which ones. All right. So now lift that up. You do not want it like dripping, but go ahead. Lay it. I kind of like to go kind of at a diagonal. All right. So now you grab the one end and you just very carefully, don't lift it too much. You don't lift it straight up. You just kind of real kind of close and slow to the canvas. All right. Now go ahead and squeegee up as much excess off of there. Because that thread really picks up quite a bit of. So that's just the metallic. The camera does not do those metallics justice, but they really pop on that black background. And then next we will do with the dried canvas. I'll show you what I was talking about there. So all right, just laid it back down and lay it right alongside the same kind of curve you were already going for. So, and then you're going to go back now this way. Get everything out of my way. All right, that one, that black base, you definitely want your colors, your same consistency, your base and your colors that you're string pulling through, you want them all the same consistency. Now, so I'm okay to show you guys, you know, the problems, the goods, the bads. The problem I'm having with this one right here is that black base was super, super thick. So I dipped it in the rose gold. Now I'm just pulling straight down just to kind of create more of like a feather. I am going to go ahead and just pull this to create this kind of more feather look right here. All right. So that's a string pull with metallics. So we've done with color shift, metallics on black, with silicone, without silicone. So those really pop. That rose gold looks beautiful on that black. But you definitely want to make sure that your background color and your string pull colors are all the same consistency. So now what I have is a 10 by 10 inch canvas. So this is all dry. Did this a few weeks ago, probably over a month ago. It is way dry. It's okay. It turned out all right. I really like some areas. It's kind of creating a like illusion like up like that. It's kind of some funky cells popped up here. But what we're going to do with this dried canvas, what I do is I've got some Floetrol in the cup, and I just put it in a cup because it's easier to, you know, manage under the camera without the gallon jar. But it's just straight Floetrol out of the gallon jug. So I'm going to pour some down, and Floetrol dries completely clear. So you don't have to worry about covering up. I love to do this and layer up this is a great little tip. If you've got some pores that you like some of the areas, but you don't like the whole thing and you want to add another layer, you can layer up your pores just like maybe like a resin artist does layers, you know, lets one dry and then does another layer. This is how you would do that. You just do a layer of Floetrol because you need some kind of a base of something for that string to pull through. And then we're going to do some string pulls right on this. And it's going to be hard to see today how this really dries because that Floetrol, look at that. That looks like a mess with that white on there. It dries clear. You won't even see that. You would see kind of these brush strokes I've gotten it, but that's about it. If you can get it, and you don't even have to be super picky. If you can get it in somewhat of an even layer, it doesn't even have to be super. So you get it down, and then you can do whatever technique right over the top of this. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this aside because we're going to use some different colors. So this is going to be a two-parter this week, guys. So this is going to be the last one for today, but then this next week, we will be back to do some more with this. We're going to let this dry for a week, and then we'll do a third layer. So we already got our first background layer. We're doing our second layer now. Then we'll do a third layer next week. So we're going to take the color shift colors. We're going to take the colors we don't want, the ones that we don't have silicone in. Just putting those down, and we're going to do some string pull flowers and stuff. And these were apple barrel colors. I did read off the colors at the beginning here. I can't remember exactly what all they were, but and this is going to look like a mess right now because that Floetrol, but that Floetrol actually dries clear to where that won't look like a mess. It'll be a layer kind of on top of that. So, all right, now we're going to go ahead and come in. We're going to use the string we used earlier. That one, you liking that one, the metallic feather on the block? That was looking nice. Or were you talking about this background maybe? See, I look up and sometimes there's a delay, so I'm not sure which one. So we're going to go ahead and dip this in. Those same colors, and it's very similar colors to what we already had for our background. We're just kind of adding another layer on top of that. which we will still see the background because this is going to dry clear. We're just going to now have string pulls on it. So if you remember, it was kind of at a diagonal. It's hard to see now, but it would kind of rushed up this way, the kind of tentacles. So I'm going to do my string pull at a diagonal like that. And so next week, I'll show you the actual this dried. It's going to be very hard to tell with it, with the Floetrol wet. But see, there you go. You can see one of the string pulls. I'm going to just continue to layer up some string pulls on that. And then next week, we'll layer even more on there. And you'll see what I'm talking about. But these are just kind of some abstract kind of fluted flower kind of. And then you can do other shapes too, and we'll show that next week. Ooh, sometimes you got to get your other hand and guide that in there right. But yes, you can layer up things by putting up the Floetrol there. So it looks like a mess right now, but I mean, you can even see at the edges where it's already starting to kind of dry. And you can see that black poking back up through. But I have a couple, if you look in my Etsy shop, and I'm just saying look to see the examples. You can see a couple of examples where I have layered up some string pulls on some dried backgrounds. Hey, Mr. Doughboy, how are you? All right, so we're going to do one more kind of right in here, squeezing off the excess, coming back in here. But yeah, I have actually done a couple of paint pours where I have layered up a few different layers. Go back about a year or so in the live streams, we did a painting where I had layered it up 3 or 4 layers throughout the weeks by doing this. All right, so I think that is where we're going to end with that one. So it's hard to see. It's really hard to picture it now. But that is now our second layer. And then next week, we could even do more if we want to. So it's got that background that the Floetrol will dry clear and you'll still see that background. And then these will be on top. So yes, Janice, thank you. I love this. This is a great idea. If you got those paint pours that, you've got those ones that are like no good and you just want to pour over. Like it's no choice. You want to pour over. You just don't like them. And then, sometimes there's those paint pours where you're like, I don't know. I kind of like some spots I don't. This is a great way for the ones that you still kind of do like. You don't want to completely pour over them, but you want to cover up a few areas. Or it needs maybe some added little touch to it. It needs an added little something. So these colors did not have silicone. You can kind of see where it gets some lacing, almost some over here. And that is just from being on the Floetrol. So you can also do at this point, you could do some swipes and stuff, and that'll create some beautiful lacing over the top of an already dried paint pour. So I do have some videos coming out this next week with this technique with already dried paint pours where I get some lacing over the top and stuff. So that's a little sneak peek at that. But we're doing pretty good, Mr. Doughboy. How are you doing? I did see you were live again. I seem to have this like habit. I don't know what is wrong with me, but you weren't live very long. So I click on it just as everyone's saying goodbye, just as the live stream's ending. I think I've done that with so many different people. They'll be live and I, for some reason, don't see it till just right as it's ending. And then I click on it. It's like, oh, they're done. I just missed it. So yeah, I did see, I think it was yesterday. So, all right. we, should we do one more? I kind of think we should do one more. I'm just looking around to try and figure out the colors here. I think I want to do another feather, but in some maybe neutral colors. So one more, guys. I know I said I was done, but we're going to do one more. So we're going to set this aside, and maybe we'll even be able to see it kind of a little bit dry. So let me set that one aside. But next week, I will for sure show you this one, and we'll work on it some more, maybe. Set that one aside. So I do have a little bit larger one. Here is a 14 by 14 inch. Let's go ahead and get white. I couldn't decide for a second, but we're going to do a white background. So nice white that was just mixed up. That's nice, same consistency as our other colors. We're going to do a feather in some browns, neutral colors. Hey, JP, how are you doing? How are you doing? Long time. I sneak in some other chats every once in a while. I just don't chat, but so nice to see you stop by. How are you? How's the family? Rural rules. I'm around. I sneak in, pop in, and see what everybody's up to. Same old stuff. So I don't say a word because it seems like same old stuff every day. But yeah, great to see you. Hope the family's doing well. God, you have a beautiful dog. I have seen a few videos on your channel. I saw you post some things with your dog. What an amazing, amazing, beautiful dog. You guys, that is an amazing dog. So I do try to keep up on everybody, what they're doing. And so, all right, I'm going to go ahead and set this aside. We're going to do a feather pull on this with kind of some nice neutral colors. Let me get that set aside. We're going to use just this. It's, I think it came with a beading kit or something. It's not quite parachute cord. It's much flimsier than parachute cord, but it's about the same thickness. So we're going to get a length of that. All right. Now we're going to get some but this one is going to be our last one for today. And then next week, we will continue part 2 of the string pull technique. And so next week, we will do like chain pulls, and we'll string pull a butterfly. So we've got the cheap brand, Burnt Sienna. We're going to do now, this one's going to be just some kind of neutral colors. And there's Mr. Doughboy with his usual trying to get us to drag Mike through the paint. That's his usual request. So that was a brown that's actually mixed up by me, so I can't really tell you. It was a mixture of some different colors, different brands. Now this one is Deco Arts Pebble. Very, very similar to that last one. This is Apple Barrel's Tuscan Teal. And then, you know what? I think I'm going to get a little bit of gold in there. I think a little gold would look nice. So, all right. Silence is key. Yep. Geppetto is what you named him, right? Jep. A good doggy. He's about 110 pounds now. Yeah, he's going to be a big one. He's going to be a big one. It's a cane corso, isn't it? I believe your dog's a cane corso. So, all right. So here we got some nice just neutrals with a little bit of teal, a little bit of gold. Now I can tell that teal has silicone. So let's see. This is going to be pretty unpredictable. We're going to go ahead and just dip that string in here. All right. Yes, he is. Okay, yeah, I thought he was a cane corso. Awesome. Oh, yes, he's going to be a big dog, but what a sweet dog. All right, now we just lift that straight up, straight down, kind of at a diagonal across the canvas. All right, now we're going to pull that. So we're going to get, this is going to be kind of wild because it does have that silicone in it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dip and I'm going to go straight in and do that again. Because what we had happen is I kind of faltered a little bit. You got to be kind of somewhat steady and just pull that straight out. You can see right here where I kind of stopped and so I'm going to actually, it's just fine. You can go straight in and do that right over again. So we're just going to go straight in. Now these colors would look great. This one would look great with a ball chain. A ball chain, you can do the same technique and we'll show you next week. And you get kind of a little bit of a texture to it. So, all right, going to go ahead and just pull those again. Just going to go again, same. This one kind of has a Native American feel to it. It's just squeezing off those extra. Then I'm dipping it in again. So again, you get it kind of a wild look when you get that silicone. So you definitely get kind of more of the abstract feather. Then I just go directly down the same way. And it's kind of hard now with this one because you go backwards. All right, now I'm going to squeegee off those ends. And so when I say silicone, what I have put in is what I used is I used the treadmill oil. So that's what creates these little round. So now I want a little bit of that burnt sienna. Then I'm going to go down the middle with. So I've just poured a little bit of that out here. So this one is my last one today, guys. I had said that last one was my last one, but this one is my last one. Yeah, this one looks a little bit more watercolorish, abstract. It kind of is reminding me kind of a Native American feel. So I don't like how that turned out. I'm going to just... Not a problem. What you can do is just kind of go in there. This one's a little bit more subtle. The other ones, like on a black background, really pop. And this one, it really gives me kind of a Native American feel. An endangered fur coat. Hit him with a can of red paint. Oh my gosh. We will have to think of something, some sort of way of painting Mike to fulfill Mr. Doughboy's wishes. He's been asking for months now to somehow paint Mike, somehow use Mike. I was really trying to think of something back at like April Fool's Day. I thought, well, this would be a one. We should on April Fool's Day. Yes, it's a nice kind of abstract feather. That first feather, let me show you that first one. I like that one a little bit better. I like this one's kind of got more of a, so let's put them side by side. We can kind of see the difference. So there is no silicone. Let's see if we can get it all the way into the frame. There we go. So here is kind of a more abstract. I kind of like the kind of, yeah, kind of almost a watercolory look. And then this is the no silicone, but that is the color shift paint. So it does have a nice kind of shimmeriness to it. So this is the first one we did, and then this is the last one we did. We did do that black one, and then also with the metallics on black. Then I did the flowers, where I showed you kind of a comparison with flowers with silicone, without. I prefer without silicone when I'm doing when I'm doing string pulls. So I'm going to go ahead and move that one out of the way. I want to show you another one. So this one is the one next week we're going to continue on. You can kind of see in the spots where it's kind of drying, and you're starting to see that background pop back up. So that Floetrol, all this white, creamy, that's going to dry clear. You're only going to see these flowers kind of on top of this background. So it's kind of a fun technique. So next week, we will go ahead and continue with this one. Yeah, it kind of looks like an ostrich plume. Yeah, it does. It definitely does. They're super fun, super easy beginner technique. So I have a beginner paint pour series where I've gone through each technique and done. And then we also have this live paint pour series. So one way you can kind of see, I'm going to kind of connect this back to here. It was kind of just floating off out into the Netherlands here. But it's just real kind of subtle Native American feather. Then we have the, nice brighter. You can do them in every color you can think of. So, all right, guys, already almost an hour, 56 minutes today. Wow, that went by quick. So next week we will continue with our chain pulls, our string pulls, kind of getting into kind of some butterflies, some kind of more, not just the feathers and the flowers. And I'm going to show you a couple other shapes of flowers. So next week, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, will be part 2 of kind of chain pull and string pull. And then the following week, we're going to get into kind of some spun pours, some spun blooms. I'm going to get out my little cake spinner, and we'll do some swipes where we'll spin out some swipes. So not this following Wednesday, but the next Wednesday, that's going to be a messy one. So that will be great. So yes, Janice, it did. It went by so fast, so very fast. So yes, Rural Rules, thank you so much for stopping by. And it was amazing to have you and to chat with you and catch up. I am usually always around. I check into different chats every once in a while. I just don't say anything. So I'm usually around. So all right. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I can't wait to show you this one next week when it's all dry and you can see the full effect. So, all right. So many different variations of the same technique. So that's what's fun with these live streams, is we can show you one technique and show you so many variations of that same one technique. So, all right, guys, that's it for today. So yeah, I'll also maybe on my community tab, I'll try to show some pictures dried as well. I usually try to throw up some pictures up onto my community tabs as well, or on my Instagram or somewhere. I usually try to show some of the dried pieces. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. You guys are so awesome. I hope to see you all around next week. Next week, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when we'll be live next, and we'll have a couple of videos in the meantime. But you guys have an awesome week, and you guys have an awesome weekend, and be the change you want to see in the world, guys. So important. Be the change you want to see in the world. All right, guys, have a good one. Thank you so much for hanging out.